previous tutorial was very much about installing plugins for WordPress. This one is much about setting them up. Now, not all of them will need setting up, but those that will be identified through this tutorial. As you can see, I'm just scrolling through a list of plugins that have been installed. Say this is all done through the previous tutorial. It tells you how to do this. And you can see a message up here about a plugin, about needing updating. And also, as I scroll down here on the left menus, there are a number of plugins that now appear as a result of installing the plugins. And those that appear here are those that will need to be set up. And I'm going to show you how to do that in this tutorial. I suppose the first place to start is if you've got any messages appearing at the top, as you have with this one. This is for the visitor maps, so I will just follow the instructions and install. So once it's installed, that's about it. You can access this a number of places along the left hand menu. As shown here. Now, if I click into visitor map, this is what it looks like. What it does show is those that are people on site, and at the moment it's picking up me here in the UK. And if you look on the Great Britain, you'll also see a little red spot to show where it's coming from. So this is really useful to understand where your visitors are coming from. So if I go to plugins and visitor maps options, there is an opportunity here to change some of the settings, but I'm going to suggest leave them as they are at this stage. If we now go to tools and we then go to WP Database Optimizer, I would suggest leave that as it is. And the other one of the tools is backup, and you do want to be backing up your database. And what I suggest here is that under the schedule backup that you perhaps schedule it for once weekly, and just remember to save. But while we're here, we may as well save the database. So if you just go back and say save now and save it and back it up, and I'm just saving it to my computer at this stage. Right, so you've got a backup of everything you've done thus far. You say you don't want to be losing that. Next thing then is if we go to settings, discussion, and I suppose the only thing you really want to change here is the Gravatar logo, which is towards the bottom. You may as well, if there's people who've got a picture of themselves, you may as well show it. So we can just change that here. And again, once you've done that, just remember to save. Keep the rest as they are. You don't need to change them at all. Right, where next then? So next one, I would suggest we go to this one here, which is media settings, and I would suggest keep that the same. And equally, again, underneath settings, if you go to privacy, I would keep settings here the same. The next one on the list I have will be permalinks. Now, permalinks are links throughout your website. These are very useful to have. What I'm going to suggest here under custom settings is that you change this to the code I'm showing here, and I'll just paste that in. And once you've done this, just remember to save. Now, most of these plugins are held in under settings, so this is the bulk of it. So that's the permalinks. The next one I'm going to be doing then is the automatic SEO links. I will just keep the settings as they are. The next one then on the list is the comment love. And I will just leave the settings as they are, as shown here. It looks quite complicated, but like I said, you don't really need to play with anything here. Now, I'm taking my time over this because people want to know how to set these things up, so it's worth just going through this. So the settings for Facebook Like, I would display the button, I'll say, on the top of the single post. And as we go down, I would suggest also to show faces and Arial fonts. And just remember to save. Right, then back to the list under settings. That is once it's saved. And if we scroll down and go into settings, this time we're going to look at the Google Analytics. Now this does need setting up, but I'm not going to do that just now. I'll come back to this, but it's a very important element of your WordPress site. Sidebar login. This is so that you can actually log into your dashboard. So you can go to your site in the normal way and then log into your dashboard. I'm just going to leave these settings as they are. But you can uncheck these two if you want to. But I'm just going to leave them as they are, as the default. Right, then let's go back to settings. The next one then is subscribe to comments. And this one I'm going to leave as it is. Right, and then back to settings. Now this is an interesting one. Tiny MCE Advanced. Now as you can see, these are the typical icons that you can use when you're actually producing a Word document. So if you're writing a script or some narrative, or importing pictures and tables, these are the boxes that you will be familiar with. Now if I go to, say, the posts, the new post, you'll see the icons within this, but they are fairly limited. Now there is a function on the far right here which does expand it, so be aware of this. So you can see there are quite a lot there, some of the ones that you are familiar with, but it's worth adding in some more, because you'll soon find out that once you're in here producing a post or a page, that these are limited. Of course, go back to the plugin and you can choose which ones you need. I'm just selecting the ones that I usually use, which includes things like tables, you know, the font size, a bit more about the you know, some of the formatting issues, some of the formatting ones. Just drag and drop, as shown here, the ones that you would like. You can have them all if you so wish, but again, this is very useful, and these will appear when you produce posts and pages, and I'll demonstrate this a bit later on. Okay, you can always come back to this if you're not happy the first time. You can always come back to it, but once you've dropped in everything that you need, just remember to save. Here we go, save. Right, let's now go to the next one, which is going to be WP Audio Options. And the only one I'm going to do is check the first box here, which is to convert to MP3. Next one then is WP, or in the bottom one I'm going to uncheck as well, uncheck notifications, and save. Next one then is WP Touch, and I'm just going to change here text justification to full and save. It's quite a complicated, this one. I wouldn't get too much into detail, so just change the one I suggest and save. Right then, the next one then is XML sitemaps. It's the last one here on the settings as it stands at the moment, and I'm just going to leave these settings very much as they are. So these are the main settings. You can see there's some additional boxes underneath settings, but we'll come back to that later. First of all, I want to go back into plugins, because there are a number there that still need to be activated, and we'll do that right now. So go into plugins, install plugins, okay, scroll down the list, and the first one is Askimet, and we'll activate this one. When you do that, then a message will appear at the top where it's asking for an API code. We'll come on to this a bit later and how you obtain that. As we scroll down, another important one here is the maintenance mode. Now when you go to do some updates to your WordPress site and you don't want it to be displayed out on the internet, just select Activate. Of course, when you finish, then you need to do Activate. There's just two other ones now. There is Tweety Updater and Twitter Widget Pro. These are both useful widgets in terms of being able to tweet your posts when you produce them or when you make changes to your post, and this happens automatically. It's a really great way to produce posts and things on Twitter. So make sure you activate both of them. Okay, once that is done, if you then scroll down on the left hand menu and look under settings, you'll notice the two plugins that have now been installed. So here are two more plugins that you now need to set up. Let's start with Tweety Updater. This is the one that's going to tweet your posts every time you produce them automatically. You'll need a Twitter account obviously for that. You have an opportunity to set that up here if you haven't got one already set up. And also Bitly setting. Now Bitly is a useful tool which shortens your link to your blog. So because you're restricted to 140 characters in Twitter, you want to be able to reduce your link, and Bitly will do that automatically for you. So you can play with this. Now I don't tweet automatically from WordPress. I have another way of doing tweets, but if you wish to keep them, by all means keep them checked and basically keep them as they are. But you should be able to follow these settings. Once you save, you'll see that two messages then come up to suggest that you need to log into Twitter and have an API code for Bitly. I already have an account, so what I'm going to do is put in my details and save that. And the next thing I'm going to do is to connect with Twitter. So let's do that right now. So I'll just select the button here. And see what happens. Here we are. I'm just going to write in my details and authorize the application. Once you've done that, hopefully it will accept it, and you'll get the message at the top to advise this. Where to go next? Well, let's now go to the other one then, the Twitter Widget Pro. Let's set this one up. In fact, we'll just leave it as it is. It's fine as it is. Right then, so what's left then? We've got a couple of setting ups to do. So we had the ASCII met to set up. Let's do that now then. We need an API code. So let's click on this and see what happens. ASCII met configuration. Here we are, and it's asking for an API code. So if we select this one here, it'll take you to the website. And basically this is really good. This is to avoid any comment spam, as it suggests here. You can read all about it here if you want to. I would suggest get an API code. And there are three payment options here. I would suggest you select the one here, sign up. And to be honest, although I have contributed to many of the plugins, I am not going to on this one, so I'll take the price down to 0 and then sign up. Although the face here is pretty unhappy, just provide your details and you'll then get an email with the API code. And as I said, the signing up is easy, but this is really useful. This really does prevent the spam that you get on your website. So here we go. So let's reduce that to 0 and continue. Right then, so let's go back here to provide the API code from your email, type it in, and just update or activate, and away we go. Right then, the next one then is the Platinum SEO. Let's have a look at this then. Platinum SEO plugin. This is going to help rank your site in the search engine. Now, when you have your home page all set up, you will want to be putting some of the details in here to help it rank in Google. We'll come back to this a bit later when we've done actually a page, your home page. Let's now look at something called stray random quotes. This is useful to be able to put some quotes in your website. I tend to use it for testimonials, and what it does, it just keeps scrolling through the various testimonials that I receive for my valued information that I provide. So if you just go into the quotes and actually add the quotes, what I'm showing here, give it a title, just a selection, just follow what I'm doing here and add it, and all you need to do then is just keep adding more and more as you get them in. And as I said, these will rotate in a particular place in your website, and I'll show you where to put this a bit later on in something what we call widgets. Right then, so I'm just showing a few more screenshots of this. You don't need to change much. Most of it is very much about adding in the quotes or the testimonials or whatever you want to use it for, and how often you want them to scroll, and a bit of timing. Whatever you do, make sure you save the settings. Right, let's have a look at contact form 7. In fact, I'm going to install another one which I forgot to add earlier. Again, this is on the list, but it's probably just worth showing that you can add these plugins at any time. So I'll just go into plugins, add new, and I'm going to type in fast secure contact form and do a search. Make sure it's a term search. It's just a reminder of installing plugins. Now here it is at the top, and I'll just say install plugin, OK, and when it appears onto the site, I'll just make sure that I activate it. And we'll come on to these forms a bit later on and how we use these and apply these in our website. And now that it's installed, let's have a quick look to see what it looks like. So if we go back to the dashboard menu on the left hand side, and it appears under plugins. Here we are, and so I just click on that, and what it does give you opportunities to have 4 different types of forms in your pages, which is really useful. Say forms 1 to 4, and again I'll show you a bit more about this later on when we get around to put them in. Okay, see you on the next tutorial.